Good morning. It is 9:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. How are you doing? The nation is reeling after a terrorist attack in New Orleans yesterday. Unbelievable. The developments that we've seen, Donald Trump weighing in the aftermath, saying our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders with weak, ineffective, and virtually non-existent leadership. The DOJ, FBI, and Democrat state and local prosecutors have not done their job. They're incompetent and corrupt, having spent all of their waking hours unlawfully attacking their political opponent, me, rather than focusing on protecting Americans from the outside and inside violent scum that has infiltrated all aspects of our government and our nation itself. Democrats should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to happen in our country. The CIA must get involved now before it's too late. The USA is breaking down. A violent erosion of safety, national security, and democracy is taking place across our nation. Only strength and powerful leadership will stop it. See you on January 20th. Make America great again. That was the statement from President Trump in the aftermath of the terrorist attack. And then a lot of people were saying, well, it's not open borders. This is an American citizen that did it. It has nothing to do with the wide open southern borders. He was an American. Okay. All right. Fair. All right. He was an American. Wouldn't that kind of strengthen our argument against open borders and anchor babies? You have to understand, with these people coming in with these generational goals, that the timelines are often a bit different, and they don't mind waiting and taking their time. He was an American citizen. Okay. Stephen Miller put it this way: Islamist terrorism is an import. It's not homegrown. It did not exist here before migration brought it here. Please fact check it. Islamist terrorism is an import. It is not homegrown. It did not exist here before migration brought it here. Somebody fact check that. I'll wait. He was an American. Okay. The radical Islamic terrorism that he brought with him, that ideology is an import. And I think it just proves the point that American doesn't mean where you were born, right? Like, not an American. I don't care what anybody says. That ideology is anything but American. Donald Trump weighed in with a new statement this morning. With the Biden open borders policy, I said many times during rallies and elsewhere, that radical Islamic terrorism and other forms of violent crime will become so bad in America, it will become hard to even imagine or believe. That time has come, only worse than ever imagined. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of America, a complete and total disaster. What he and his group of election-interfering thugs have done to our country will not soon be forgotten. MAGA. Joe Biden is absolutely the cause for this. Joe Biden's administration is the reason that we had the terror attack in New Orleans yesterday. 100%. Joe Biden weighed in, saying, I've been continually briefed since early this morning regarding the horrific incident that occurred in New Orleans overnight. The FBI is taking the lead in the investigation, is investigating this incident as an act of terrorism. I will continue to receive updates throughout the day, and I will have more to say as further information becomes available. My heart goes to the victims and their families who are simply trying to celebrate the holiday. There is no justification for violence of any kind, and we will not tolerate any attack on our nation's communities. Nice, great. Where have you been the last 3.5 years? We've all been waiting for this other shoe to drop. It was just on New Year's Eve, I was doing the cross with Chad, the new guy that's doing 12 to 3 here, and Chad said, listen, I think a terror attack is going to come. I texted him after it happened. I said, dude, you nailed it. We've all been waiting for this other shoe to drop. We all have. We've been waiting for this to come. We've been waiting for this to happen. And it's here now. It's here now. Biden said that it was inspired by ISIS. Everybody's seen the flag that was on the back of the truck. It's an ISIS flag. Joe Biden talking about that yesterday.
Our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who were killed, to all those who were injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know, I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come. I want to thank our brave first responders and law enforcement personnel who stopped the attacker in his tracks before he could kill or injure even more people. And I want to thank you to everyone at the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, including the FBI, for working nonstop to investigate this heinous act. The FBI is leading the investigation to determine what happened, why it happened, and whether there was any continuing threat to public safety. Here's what we know so far. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill, The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators.
So what we have now is a manhunt, right? As Joe Biden slurs through his speech, he says, "Don't worry, the FBI's in charge." I'm sure that calms everybody's down, right? Everybody's, oh, okay, it's the FBI. The FBI's looking into it. Oh, great. The FBI did confirm that there are others involved. This is not a lone wolf, and that multiple IEDs were found in the French Quarter, improvised explosive devices. FBI spokesperson Aletha Duncan spoke at the press conference. A lot of people were calling her a DEI hire on X, pointing out that she had a nose ring in her first press conference. That's not it's exactly allowed by the FBI. And then the next press conference, she didn't have a nose ring. She came out and said originally, this isn't a terror attack, but we're looking at IEDs. After local police said, no, we're investigating this as a terror attack. But she said in a press conference Wednesday afternoon, that the FBI is the lead investigative agency, and we're investigating this as an act of terrorism along with our partners. Yep. After coming out there and saying that it wasn't a terrorist attack. Duncan said that Jabbar is a U.S. citizen born and raised in Texas. He was a U.S. Army veteran. They mentioned the ISIS flag that was located on the hitch of the vehicle. They mentioned that the FBI is working to determine the suspect's association and affiliation with terrorist organizations. And I just wonder, where's the FBI been? Where's the FBI? Where have they been? Because you see, there was an arrest made in Houston, which is the same area where this man is from, where they raided his home. In November, the FBI arrested a suspect after a 7-year federal investigation for ties to ISIS. So they didn't do any follow-ups on the people around this guy. Was this guy not connected? Is this totally unrelated? Are we supposed to be confident with the FBI handling this investigation? Do you feel confident with the FBI handling this investigation? 615-737-9986. Guns, pipe bombs were found in the vehicle, according to a Louisiana State Police intelligence bulletin obtained by the Associated Press. The devices were concealed within coolers, wired for remote detonation, the bulletin said, and a corresponding remote control was discovered inside the vehicle. The FBI said the other potential explosive devices were also located in the French Quarter. Originally, there were reports that they had surveillance footage capturing 3 men and a woman placing some of these IEDs. But now they're saying that those initial reports of suspects on video were not accurate. So we're still in a process of trying to figure out who the others are. But the FBI is confirming quite a bit of this. The FBI did announce that the alleged terrorist worked, that they didn't believe he worked alone. This is during the press conference yesterday.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates. That's why we need the public's help. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Samsoud Dim Jabbar in the last 72 hours that you contact us. The FBI is asking the public's help. We're asking anyone who has information, video, or pictures to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please provide us with any information that can assist us in this investigation. Once again, thank you for your patience and assistance. For an updated statement or information, please check the FBI's website and our social media accounts.
So they were essentially begging the public for help yesterday. There's going to be another press conference at some point during the show. We're going to keep our eyes on the mainstream media, and as this press conference kicks off, we'll do our best to cover it live or at least bring you the most relevant audio in a timely manner from that press conference. But the FBI needs to step up. The FBI, we're looking at you, FBI. And I don't know if a leadership change at the top is going to fix all the issues with the FBI. But again, there was an ISIS arrest made in November in Houston, Texas, the same area where Shamsud Din Jabbar is from. The SWAT unit raided his home in Houston yesterday. And there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. How did you have your eyes on ISIS in Houston and you missed this guy? How? The FBI needs to step up. Revolver has this story, revolver.news. FBI clown show. New York Post finds NOLA terrorist house before the feds. This is the FBI that's in charge of the investigation. Just when you think the FBI couldn't possibly stoop lower or tarnish its reputation further, they somehow managed to outdo themselves with an act so inept and outrageous that all you can do is shake your head in disbelief. What happened this time? They showed up to a late terrorist house. So late, in fact, that reporters from the New York Post arrived before they did. Reporters are beating the FBI to the terrorist home in Houston. This is supposed to be a world-class law enforcement agency, right? Like this, these are supposed to be the best of the best. They're getting scooped by the New York Post. They're getting scooped by the New York Post in a city where they arrested an ISIS member in November. Come on. How? The revolver goes on. At this point, the feds have become a little more than a bumbling clown show, handling the NOLA terror attack with all the finesse of a trope of Keystone Cops. In a stunning display of what can only be described as DEI-driven incompetence, FBI spokeswoman stood in front of cameras and declared that the massive New Year's terror attack wasn't a terror attack at all. Yeah, we just mentioned that. She literally said that.
Patrick said we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found.
That was found. Improvised explosive devices that was found. I mean, the FBI should be embarrassed today. The FBI should honestly be embarrassed. But you look at the New Orleans city leaders, and it looks like a lot of DEI hires, a bit of a disaster. Are you surprised that America has lost faith in the FBI? Honestly. And they keep talking about the ISIS flag. He had an ISIS flag, you know. He had an ISIS flag. It was ISIS. It had to be ISIS. But I think it's important to point out that the IS flag, the Islamic State flag, is not just linked to ISIS. It's used by a bunch of groups. It's used by TTP, which is Tariq-e-Taliban, Pakistan. It's used by Al-Shabaab. It's used by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. It's used a ton of jihadi groups use this flag. So is this guy ISIS? Maybe. Very well could be. But if you've been paying attention to Sarah Adams and Sean Ryan and that podcast that happened just a couple weeks ago, you're probably understanding this a bit differently than most. And I'll play you some of those clips on the way. They've been waiting for this to happen. Waiting for this to happen. People have been waiting for this shoe to drop. And it did. It did. Shamsud Din Jabbar plowed through a crowd of people in New Orleans, killing 15, injuring about 30 more, and then I'm expecting the number to rise. The FBI had released a statement. Subject has been identified as 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas who was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to have been rented, and we are working to confirm how the suspect came into possession of the vehicle. An ISIS flag was located in the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with the terrorist organizations. Weapons and a potential IED were located in the subject's vehicle. Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. The FBI Special Agent bomb technicians are working with our law enforcement partners to determine if any of these devices are viable, and they will work to render those devices safe. We got a lot more to cover here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I see Eric from Morristown hanging on the line. Hang on, Eric. We'll get to your call next. Eric always has a good insight because of his background. We'll get to Eric real quick after the break. But first, I said to my wife last night, I said, listen, if we're going out, you keep your head on a swivel. We're avoiding large crowds. And we're bringing our firearms with us. That's just plain and simple. And you should be doing the exact same thing. Your security is going to be your responsibility in the weeks ahead. It does seem like this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to terror attacks in America. And when you look at that wide open southern border, there's really no question as to why. So what do you do? Well, first, you need to find yourself a firearm that you like, and you need to find a place to train. I recommend my Glock store. When I go to train, I really should go more often, but when I do go to train, I head down to the Glock store and the Shoot 270 indoor ranges where they have private shooting rooms and personal instructors, not multiple lanes and strangers shooting next to you. Whether you're a beginner or you're very experienced, these are the places to train. You're going to deal with real-world scenarios. You're going to learn how to clear rooms, how to shoot from behind obstacles. It is the only way to train. And it's going to prepare you should you need these skills in real life. And here's an exciting thing for 2025 just for you. You go down there, you book a shooting session at shoot270.com, and you'll get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5 just by mentioning my name. That's all you have to do. It's a $50 value. You say you heard it on the Chris Hand Show, you want to train at the Glock store, and boom, you get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5. Even if you haven't trained at the Glock store before, you should do it today. The right way to train is with a personal instructor in a private shooting room. And after every session, you're going to walk out better, more confident. And in January, you'll experience the thrill of shooting a full auto MP5. The incredible, incomparable Shoot270.com, only in Nashville, only my place to train, the Glock store. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Up ahead, the changes are dizzying. Investors have now changed their tune on whether there are other suspects involved in the New Orleans attack. Also, those investigators have searched the Texas home where the New Orleans terrorist lived. We have those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It's 9:27 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Real quick, Eric in Morristown, one of my favorite callers. You got a bit of a background in the military, don't you, Eric?
Hey, Roger that. Yeah, thanks for taking my call, man. I spent 15 years and some change as far as medically retired following a free fall accident during training. But real quick, you were hitting on it. That I think people are missing it. Real bad guys don't advertise that they've done something. They may do it after the fact, but they're not going to advertise while it's being committed unless they want to send a message or people want a message to be sent. All right, here's the thing with ISIS. During President Trump's first administration, I forget what the name of the program, he cut funding to regarding the CIA doing something in the Middle East. I can't remember exactly. That funding was cut. Now the big boys at CAG and at Dev Group and stuff, they were doing the deed downrange, taking out some of these knuckleheads. Mm-hmm. But as soon as that funding dried up, almost as soon as that funding dried up, ISIS went away. ISIS evaporated. Now guess who we have in charge in Syria? Guess who we placed in charge? These so-called former moderates that have been affiliated with this group called ISIS. Now, people really think and look at the news. Last week, maybe a little bit before Christmas, Russia came out with their FSB, which is like their FBI, if you will. They foiled a quote-unquote ISIS attack in Russia. We had an ISIS-affiliated attack in Germany over Christmas. We had another ISIS attack, in the past couple of days in France, where the guy used a truck to mow down people at some festivities or whatever. Now you had this knucklehead in Las Vegas. Okay, and I think there's a message being sent globally right now that Trump doesn't want any part of this stuff. And I am of the opinion that ISIS is USIS, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the podcast with on Sean Ryan. I haven't caught the whole thing on that, but they've quote unquote been waiting for something like this to happen. And I'm of the opinion that the powers that be want to get it on with President Trump and the incoming administration in order to keep keep funding being diverted. And I'm also of the opinion that with the funding that's recently been dropped on Ukraine over the past 6 weeks, it could be other previous drops, but I think some of this money is being, laundered or whitewashed to fund these some of these organizations that are suddenly, we need to get in here, we need to get in there. If you really, this is my opinion now, this isn't your opinion or anybody else's. If people take the time to really look at what's going on, this is, how should I say, we got two veterans now that are, the guy in NOLA and the guy in, I forget where, in Colorado Springs, that had the truck bomb. They're both, quote-unquote, vets. Okay, I think vets are going to be looked at next. Okay, you got the Joint Terrorism Task Force throughout all these different regions that should be or supposed to be coordinating these, investigations or rumor mills or, hey, so-and-so's this, so-and-so's that, let's check into it. They know. I'm of the opinion they know exactly where this is all coming from. The powers that be above the, in the head shed, above the spokespeople level, if you will, basically in the fifth floor or sixth floor, whatever, of the FBI building, they know what's going on with all this. There's a thing called compartmentalization, where one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, but the other hand has to react to the first hand. Oh, look at what we're doing, this, that, and the other. Okay, I think that Lord forbid, I feel that it's only going to get worse. If you look at the FBI's history over just say the past 10 years, just say the past 15 years of prior knowledge or even steering some of these groups, some of these individuals on these bombings, they know what's going on.
Yep.
That's all I can say. And you also hit on another, I'll end with this, that revolver.news. That's some good website there to get some background information or further information on some of the stuff's going on. What's his name? Dr. What's his name? Anyway.
Big fan of Revolver.
Yeah, there you go. I just want to say thanks for taking my call. I could elaborate more, but I'm sure you got other better callers. And
hey, Eric, man, we love it when you call in. You're always welcome to call back. If you hear anything that piques a thought, call back, all right?
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
All right, you too, buddy. It is 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTM. When we get back after the news, I am going to play some of that Sarah Adams, Sean Ryan podcast because it is too good not to. She called this last month. She called it. Nobody heeded her warnings. We'll play that for you on the other side right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yep. 9:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The FBI and New Orleans police no longer believe there are any other suspects involved in the New Year's truck attack on Bourbon Street. In a breaking development just moments ago, investigators have said they have reviewed all of the surveillance video more closely, and it appears that Samshud Din Jabbar placed explosive devices in the area himself and then changed his clothes. Those clothes were found in his vehicle. The FBI is reportedly still investigating whether there were others whom Jabbar spoke with or messaged with prior to the attack. Well, the FBI conducted an early morning search of the Houston home where the New Orleans attacker lived. That search concluded not too long ago. And the FBI is saying now they aren't saying what has been found in that home, but they are saying that there is no threat to the residents in that area. They'll talk more about that search at a news conference scheduled for 11 o'clock Eastern time this morning. Well, there was a shooting inside a nightclub in Queens, New York on New Year's Day as well. 10 people were shot. This happened about 11:20 on New Year's night in the upstairs area of the Amazura Club. That's had about 90 people in the upstairs club area. All of the victims are under the age of 20, including one 16-year-old boy. Police are not calling this a terror attack, and they are still searching for the shooters. Well, seems there's one of these stories every year, a Salvation Army donation that's getting a lot of attention for its value. Someone in Washington, Pennsylvania, dropped a rare coin into the kettle in front of a grocery store on Christmas Eve. On it, a note had been taped saying that the donor wanted to remain anonymous. The coin is stamped with Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. It is worth more than $2,700. The Red Kettle program raises more than $2.7 million each year for the Salvation Army. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Discussing the terrorist attack that happened in New Orleans, the subsequent bombing that happened in Las Vegas, the raids in Houston, and during the last news report, the FBI is now saying he worked alone. Oh, all right. There goes the remaining trust I have in the FBI. It's a lone wolf. Lone wolf, got it. Okay. All right, maybe. I just have a hard time believing that. Because for months, we've known that something like this was going to happen. Heck, years. You look at that wide open southern border, the amount of special interest aliens that are coming across, the radical Islamists that we have imported into this country. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened sooner. But it does seem like this is just the beginning. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. I mentioned the Sarah Adams podcast with Sean Ryan. I played this on my show back when it aired originally, but I think it's worth playing again because Sarah Adams, former CIA agent, has claimed all of this many, many times, that this is coming. Get ready. In fact, this is an older interview. This isn't the Sean Ryan interview, but in an older interview, she had said that big terror attack was coming in 2025. That's what she said.
Back to the interesting point. You said that you guys think that they've sent at least 15. Al-Qaeda alone has sent at least 1,500 people here in the United States.
Correct.
What do they plan on doing with them?
They have a 2025 multi-coordinated, multi-city plot to avenge the death of Osama bin Laden.
Okay, so I've watched you on podcasts. I've never heard that. Could you explain that more?
We're going to put a report on Monday, but essentially Al-Qaeda is actually who helped plan the Hamas attacks. The Hamas attacks is a dress rehearsal. So the Hamas attacks is the practice attack, and then the big attack is going to be in the United States and then in 4 countries in Europe.
Okay. You guys want to go home and load magazines?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
I hope a lot of people come into your shop and stock up. It would be smart.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
What's the time frame?
All we know is that the attack was planned for 2025.
I mean, listen, they knew this was coming, but the FBI missed it. They knew this was coming. You know, they're in a gun store in this podcast. He says, should we just go home and load magazines? She goes, I hope you would. And listen, I said the same thing a minute ago. Go to the Glock store, get yourself a firearm, learn how to use it, train. You're going to be your first responder. You're going to be there first. Keep your head on a swivel out there. The reality that we're facing is very, very scary. Honestly. Very, very nerve-wracking, the situation that we find ourselves in this country today. And it can all go back to the Biden administration and their weak policies, their DEI hires, the beta soy boys that they've put in power. And nobody's ready for this. Nobody's ready for this. Sarah Adams said in the Sean Ryan interview, though, that we should also be aware that suicide vests could play a role in some of these attacks.
We have not had a man walk up to a building with a suicide vest on the United States. Americans don't understand this. Al-Qaeda knows this, right? So this is new and innovative, especially now. You don't have to walk upside of the building. You can walk in the building because of the advancement of the vest. The other thing is, in the United States, we haven't had Fideian attackers. So the concept is the terrorist fights to the death. So he's not exactly a suicide bomber, but he will fight till either all of us are dead or all of his people are dead. We think it's going to be a swarming attack, right? Multiple different attacks at one time across multiple cities. We think there will be suicide bombers just because some of the attackers went through suicide bomber training and they have these vests. And then we think there's these Fideian attackers who will carry on until they're killed.
You just rephrase that. So these guys are trained and they are going to fight until they're killed.
Yes, and that matters, right? So I was watching this video and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. The bomber blew up and then everyone starts moving in. The first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic. But if Americans don't understand this as a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the death, think about that. Battle's going on. The attacker surrenders. He might have the suicide vest. You know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you dies. So we can't let our guards down. And they know our weakness. So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people die in these second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
I mean, it's dark stuff. We haven't had suicide bombers in this country. We do need to wrap our heads around the reality that could be coming. It's 1,000 to 1,500 radical Islamists in the country. That could be a lot of damage. That could be a lot of damage. Said, one suicide bomber will blow their vest up. We've seen it in Kabul. The EMTs move in, people rush in to help survivors, and then boom, second vest goes. These are things that we do need to actually wrap our head around in this country as of today, January 2nd, 2025. Things are going to get worse before they get better. I don't think this is a one and done. They're now saying that he was a lone wolf. Okay, I'll believe it when nothing else happens. But the coordination and the targeting that Sarah Adams talks about in this podcast with Sean Ryan, this is what we need to be really focused on.
How many people, how many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
I think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, just do 5 straight days.
She said they want it coordinated. I don't know what that means. And I can't be the only one who looks at what happened yesterday and their mind immediately goes, is this a test? Are you testing response times? The Sugar Bowl was moved. The Super Bowl is also going to be in New Orleans. These are massive events for American society. Is this a test? Is this a test? I think these are questions that we have to ask.
So, but they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So capital is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in D.C., right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on. I'm going to go up there, right? Because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. In my opinion, terrorists in general just leaving Afghanistan, a lot of them are coming up through the Darien Gap to the border. And there was a big push, right? Get in the U.S. while you can. Now, not all those Al-Qaeda's attackers, right? But they came in with fake Afghan passports. They came in with fake Syrian passports, fake Turkish passports. Those are the 3 preferences because they're easiest to get. And then, if our Border Patrol agents, a lot of them haven't been overseas, right? If an Egyptian shows up at the border with a Syrian passport, is he going to know that person?
No, I mean, listen, let's be honest. The security failures at our southern border have led directly to where we are today and the uncertainty in the air. And they can tell us this guy is an American all they want. The ideology was imported. 100%. He's a U.S. veteran. He was in the Army Reserve. He was in the Army. Okay. So when was he radicalized? Was he radicalized before this? Jack Posobiec posted on Twitter, hearing Jabbar was reported twice to his Army COC for Islamic extremist views, and they were too scared of causing a racial and religious issue to address. This guy could have been reported twice for his Islamic extremist views. And they didn't do anything. If that reporting is true, that's terrifying. You were worried about hurting feelings. So you did nothing. So you did nothing. Wild. Absolutely wild. Mike in Nashville has been holding for a minute, wants to talk about the terror attack. What's up, Mike?
Okay, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Okay, yeah, I didn't think I had a connection. Okay, I want to say one quick thing before I get started on the terrorists about Joe Biden. I've told you this before. Joe Biden, what he did last night when he gave his so-called press conference, and then he walked off the stage and turned his back to the American people. That's basically what Joe Biden thinks about you and me and everybody else that lives in this country. Because, see, last time I checked, a president is supposed to answer questions such as Donald Trump, who's not even the president. He answers all questions until everybody has got their answer. He got their answer, and then he walks off the stage. You don't say what you have to say and walk off the stage. You're not doing the American people
100%. 100%. Mike, he spoke for 4 minutes after citizens of this country were mowed down by a terrorist in a truck. He spoke for 4 minutes, and he slurred through that 4 minutes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And then he didn't even have the audacity not to answer the question. I mean, here's how this press conference should have went last night. Here's how this thing should have went if we had a real president. Joe Biden should have came out on the stage and said, due to the events that took place yesterday in New Orleans, Louisiana, the border is closed to all individuals trying to get into this country until you are checked. We want to find out who you are and what you're all about. We have a national security event. The border is shut down. Nobody is allowed to come in unless they're checked. But like I said, this should have been done 4 years ago when he got in the White House.
Yep.
So just in case anybody didn't know, Joe Biden doesn't care about the United States border, because if he did, he would have shut it down a long time ago. And guess what? He had another opportunity to do it yesterday, and he didn't do it again. Now, let's talk about this guy, this imposter that did what he did. This American outcast who had the nerve and audacity. He represented the United States military, and they're not telling you the whole truth about him. He didn't voluntarily get out of the military. He was kicked out of the military. He was dishonorably discharged because he had Muslim beliefs. They're not going to tell you that because they don't want you to know the truth. Just like they're not telling you the truth this morning about they got on camera. Last time I checked, 3 or 4, one guy can't be in 3 or 4 places at the same time. They claim that they've seen individuals planting bombs in the New Orleans area, but yet this morning they come out and say he was the only one involved in it, that he had to change the clothes in his truck. That's a lot. There are other individuals. He's not the only individual that's involved in this. And the reason why I know that is because the guy in Las Vegas was affiliated with him. They were both in the same Army company. This guy that was blew up the truck in front of Trump Tower. Both of these guys knew each other, so you can better believe there are other individuals involved in it. And like I said, the FBI started out the whole deal. I'm going to end my call by saying this. The FBI agent, she started out the whole deal by saying a lie from the beginning when she said she didn't think it was a terroristic event. She already started out on a bad foot, and I thank you for taking my call.
Hey, I appreciate it, Mike. Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, listen, the reports are changing very, very fast. And it's one of those situations where it's like you almost don't even want to watch the first couple hours of news coverage because of how quickly things are changing. So they did. They said that they had 3 people on surveillance video planting IEDs. They've come out and said, no, that wasn't accurate. Now it's just he worked alone. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of coincidences between the bombing that happened in the Tesla Cybertruck in Las Vegas and with what happened in New Orleans. Both American veterans radicalized, and they commit acts of terror on the same day. They both got their vehicles from the same rental company, Turo. They both served at the same military base, Fort Bragg, and then added another wrinkle to the Fort Bragg story. That's the same military base that the second would-be Trump assassin, Ryan Ruth, visited over 100 times before trying to assassinate Donald Trump. There's a lot of red flags, a lot of questions that need to be answered. But don't worry, the FBI is in charge of the investigation, so I'm sure we'll get those answered relatively sometime. And maybe not. We're probably not going to get any answers. Let's be honest. We're going to get lone wolf, acted alone. He's dead now. Everybody can go home. That's probably going to be the official narrative before the end of the day. Right? Most likely. Most likely. That's the way things work. That's the way things work. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here at all. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. It's 9:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. As we move into the new year, have you been walking past those red flags in your house, those cracks in your foundation, the water coming in your basement, and you've been avoiding it because you don't want to hear what the problem is? fix that? Can we fix that in the new year? Can you call USS, United Structural Systems? These are the guys to help you with foundation repair, with waterproofing. They're your experts, and they've been doing it in Middle Tennessee since 1994. They're not going anywhere. If you work with a new guy in town, well, you have no guarantee that they're still going to be around if you ever have a warranty issue. That is not a fear you need to have with USS. And USS has more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. These guys are community-oriented. They live here in the community. They're not a franchise. They're not going to upsell you on the next big thing. They're just going to come in and fix what needs to be fixed. And if it ends up being nothing, they'll tell you that too. That's the best. That's USS. You won't pay until the work is done and you're satisfied. And when they do leave, they're going to leave behind a warranty that is good for life. So whether it's foundation repair or waterproofing work that needs to be done, call the best. Call USS. They'll take the stress out of your home repair. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, keeping homes dry and stable. Online, USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Well, the Sugar Bowl is on. Despite all that's happening in New Orleans, officials say that attendees there will be safe. And Puerto Rico went dark for New Year's Day, another total electric failure on that island. Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're covering the latest. It's like drinking through a fire hose when it comes to the terror attack in New Orleans, the subsequent terror attack in Las Vegas, the raid happening in Houston. Don't worry, though. The mosque that was attended by the New Orleans terrorist, they're ready and willing to answer all questions that the FBI or media might have. Oh, no, just kidding. Just kidding. They're actually referring inquiries from the FBI to the Council on American Islamic Relations and the Islamic Society of Greater Houston. Oh. So they're not willing to answer any questions? It doesn't seem like it. So after 15 people killed, dozens wounded in the street after the terror attack on New Year's Day, Newsweek was reporting that the mosque near the Houston home of Shamsid Din Jabbar, who police say carried out the New Year's Day attack in New Orleans, has urged its congregation not to respond to media inquiries and to refer other Islamic organizations if contacted by the FBI. That's a little weird, right? Is that a little weird to you? Seems a bit off, doesn't it? What would they possibly have to say that they wouldn't be able to answer without representation? In an Instagram story posted after the attacker's identity was announced, the Masjid Bilal, I'm probably butchering that, and I apologize, condemned what it said were terrible acts, but added, if approached by the FBI and a response is necessary, please refer to CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, and ISGH, the Islamic Society of Greater Houston. Now, it's important to point out, CARE, it's a radical organization that has provided assistance to terrorist families in the past. Weird. As Breitbart News reported in 2015, the local branch of CARE provided help to the families of ISIS-affiliated terrorists who carried out a mass shooting against San Bernardino County employees, their colleagues, during a Christmas holiday party. Oh, weird. Breitbart News noted last Friday, for example, Hussam Ayloush, director of CARE's Los Angeles chapter, told CNN that the United States was to blame for provoking the attack through foreign policies Muslims found objectionable. Let's not forget that some of our own foreign policy as Americans, as the West, we have fueled extremism. And these are the guys that are now answering questions in relation to the New Orleans terrorist. Okay. So he definitely acted alone, right? Definitely. There couldn't have been anybody in his past or at that mosque that influenced him at all. Not one bit. Take off the tinfoil hat, right? Okay. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It's now 10:01. I'm Joan Jones with the top stories. An updated news conference is expected in New Orleans at this hour, as investigators have now said they do not believe there are accomplices at large after the New Year's Eve attack there. We'll keep you updated on any new information that comes out of that news conference. The Sugar Bowl will go on at 4 o'clock Eastern time today. New Orleans police are saying that game between Georgia Bulldogs and Notre Dame was postponed until today after yesterday's terror attacks. New Orleans Police Department Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says the level of security will be on par with a Super Bowl event. She tells the Today Show that they're using the same plans for today's game as they have for the Super Bowl in February. Both games are taking place at the Superdome. The attacks have prompted one Metro Nashville council member to call for a discussion about additional security measures on Broadway. Metro Council member Jacob Cupin, whose district encompasses downtown Nashville, told News 2 that the attack has prompted him to work to ensure all possible safety gaps have been addressed. Cupin said he feels Broadway is well monitored and protected through video surveillance and physical barriers, but he's looking for new holes in the system. He said he set up a meeting to plan for the new year with an eye towards safety downtown. Puerto Rico started the new year out in the dark. A massive blackout hit nearly all electrical customers across Puerto Rico, leaving more than 1.2 million customers with no electricity. Power was restored to almost everyone by late yesterday afternoon. The company that runs the island's power system said that the grid there is fragile and it's facing a decision about implementing rotating temporary outages to manage the island's power problems. And the number of Americans filing for unemployment checks dropped last week to the lowest level since March. Data out this morning showing jobless claims dropped by 9,000 last week. The U.S. job market has cooled from the post-COVID hiring boom as businesses came back online. That's the latest news. We've got weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Got a great text here from 5770. This radio show is terrible and lying. Haha. That's the guy. I like it. I like the start. I do. Would be funny to have a real Muslim on the show to speak up for themselves. Feels like we get judged without actually being understood. I guarantee I could change any human's mind about a Muslim. Religion doesn't make me different from you. We're all human. Stop spreading false information and your silly agenda you're told to speak on. Haha. I said, call in, please. Please call in. I'd love to hear from a real Muslim on this. Am I wrong for saying that it sends up a red flag that the mosque he attended is telling its congregants don't answer any questions and refer them to CARE or the ISHG? I think that's a little bit weird. And for the record, yeah, cool. It's Islam is the religion. But if it was Catholics telling their congregation, hey, with the pedo scandal that happened back in the day. Don't answer any questions. Just refer them to our representatives. I would call that out as sus as well. Okay, so I think that's fair. I think it's fair. There is, it looks to me, one religion that loves a good terror attack more than others. It just seems to coincidentally always be Islam. So I'd love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. I'm not going to paint with a broad brush and say all Muslims are terrorists. No, I'm not. And I don't mean to do that. But if there's a terror attack, it does oftentimes tend to be a Muslim. Maybe it's a coincidence. Dave in Hendersonville, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Dave? Thanks for holding, man.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Man, you are dead on. And anybody out there, if you don't know anything about Sean Ryan, you need to look him up and listen to him. He's had this girl on several times, and my wife and I listen to him all the time.
Yep.
At least 3 or 4 times a week. He's dead on. He knows what he's talking. He knows what he's talking about. She knows what she's talking about. It's like you said. She called this a month ago or not more.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I will not go to any big gathering. And she also said, I don't know if you've seen this one or listened to all of this or not, interview with her or not, Chris, but she also said that they have designed vests now, suicide vests, that can't be detected.
Yep. She said you can walk right in with them. Yeah.
Yeah, so, if they've got 1,000 people in here that are looking to do harm to us, an event like we just had here in Nashville, New York, California, Chicago, if they put 2-3 people with those vests on in these crowds and detonate them, you're talking about thousands of people dead.
Oh, 100%. And the way she breaks it down, it's like, it's not just that you're going to have a suicide guy come through, blow up the vest. Then they're going to wait. They're going to wait for first responders to go in. They're going to wait for more civilians to return to help those that are wounded. And then you'll have number 2 come in with a vest.
Right. She's talking about the Darien Gap. He's got another guy that comes on there that he's had on there a few different times that has went done the whole Darien Gap. I mean, he's all over the place.
Yep.
But he's traveled the whole time, and he said they're coming through there like cockroaches.
Oh, 100%. Listen, this is all Joe Biden's doing, and they'll tell us, but this guy was an American. He's an American. It's like, but the ideology is anything but American. The ideology was imported.
You're exactly right.
Back
exactly
to the
right.
same point.
You're dead on it today, brother.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Dave. Thank you so much. Sarah Adams, she was on the Sean Ryan podcast. It's number 149. If you haven't seen it, definitely worth a watch. But she's been claiming this on other podcasts for a long time. She was on Shark Coast Tactical Podcast, and she called it. This is months back, saying that Al-Qaeda is planning a coordinated multi-city attack for 2025, that they're going to use ISIS as a cover, and that Al-Qaeda was behind the Hamas attacks on October 7th.
Back to the interesting point. You said that you guys think that they've sent at least 15. Al-Qaeda alone has sent at least 1,500 people here in the United States.
Correct.
What do they plan on doing with them?
They have a 2025 multi-coordinated, multi-city plot to avenge the death of Osama bin Laden.
Okay, so I've watched you on podcasts. I've never heard that. Could you explain that more?
We're going to put a report on Monday, but essentially Al-Qaeda is actually who helped plan the Hamas attacks. The Hamas attacks is a dress rehearsal. So the Hamas attacks is the practice attack, and then the big attack is going to be in the United States and then in 4 countries in Europe.
Okay. You guys want to go home and load magazines?
Yeah,
awesome.
That's what I'm thinking.
I hope a lot of people come into your shop and stock up. It would be smart.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
What's the time frame?
All we know is that the attack was planned for 2025.
That's all they know. Well, it looks like it's here. These guys are kind of chuckle a bit, oh, everybody should come into the shop and load up. But no, seriously, you should. And you should keep your head on a swivel out there, and you should avoid large crowds. Let's be perfectly honest. I'm not here to fearmonger, and I don't want you to live your life in fear, but I do want you to have your head on a swivel out there. I recommend the Glock store if you need a firearm, if you need training. I'm not just saying that because I endorse these guys, but truly, if you don't know where to start, call the Glock store. They'll get you started. I had a conversation with my wife yesterday. I said, listen, no large crowds. Take this with you. And I think we all know what this is, Don't leave home without it. Honestly. Sarah Adams has been calling this out for a while. She's been blowing the alarm bells, ringing the alarm bells. But it's not just her. It's not just her. A lot of people really, truly think that this is the tip of the iceberg. And, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get way worse before it gets better. I'm of the belief that I think that they could have been testing response time. They could be planning something for the Super Bowl. They could have been planning something for the Sugar Bowl that evening, hence why they, canceled and rescheduled. But this is insanity. And this is the reality that we have because of weak leadership, wide open southern borders, and DEI hires across the board at some of our biggest and best intel agencies. It's insanity. So we're waiting for this press conference to start live. We'll jump into it when it does start because we want to bring you the latest info as we have it. As of right now, the FBI is saying he worked alone. Guns and pipe bombs were found in the vehicle, according to Louisiana State Police Intelligence Bulletin obtained by the Associated Press. There were concealed IEDs concealed within coolers. They were wired for remote detonation, the bulletin said, and a corresponding remote control was also discovered inside the vehicle. The FBI said other potential explosive devices were found in the French Quarter, according to the intelligence bulletin. They had originally said surveillance footage had captured 3 men and a woman placing those IEDs. FBI is now saying that those initial reports of suspects on video were not accurate. But it's drinking through a fire hose. That's the best that we can call it. We are drinking through a fire hose with this information. And it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Former Green Beret Scott Mann was on Fox News last night talking about the terror attack and, the emerging threat that's coming along with it.
Scott, it just feels like this is a president with bad instincts. He always seems to be late. You look at the debacle in Afghanistan, just to name one of many maladies of the Biden era. And then you look at today. This was, by my count and just my own independent research, the 11th deadliest terrorist attack on American soil. It was on the level of San Bernardino, the level of Fort Hood. And it just feels like Biden's remarks 16 hours late are a little too late. Your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. And of course, our prayers go out to the victims and their families. But, something that I would say is that the global war on terror veterans have been trying to tell the Biden administration something for 3 years since the departure from Afghanistan, and they haven't listened. And so now this message, I'm actually saying it to the Trump administration. There is an emerging threat gathering on the horizon of local distributed attacks that's going to look much more like October 7 than it does 9/11. And
I think it's important to pause there. Joe Biden spoke for 4 minutes after a terror attack. 4 minutes. He took no questions from the press. Members of the intel communities have been warning him that this was coming. You get a former Green Beret on Fox News last night, Scott Mann, and he doesn't even have a message for the president. He has a message for President Trump because everybody understands that Joe Biden is not going to fix this. Let's be honest. Joe Biden is not coming through the door to fix this. Joe Biden is counting down the days until January 20th, much like the rest of the American people, so he can be sent back to Delaware. Can we fast forward this process? Can we get a real leader in there today? There's an emerging threat gathering on the horizon of local distributed attacks that's going to look more like October 7th than it does 9/11.
9/11. And the reason that I'm saying that is because a whole number of global war on terror veterans picked up the phone when the Biden administration abandoned 99% of our human intelligence capability in Afghanistan. And we paid for safe houses and for babies to be born and a range of other things. And over the last 3 years, those individuals who are very well placed, who have tremendous information, Kaylee, have been giving very high fidelity, high veracity information about local attacks where we live, work, and play. And I do believe this is the first shot across the bow.
This is just the first one. Former Green Beret Scott Mann. This is just the first one. Do you feel confident that the Biden administration is ready to tackle any problems? I mean, they can't even start a press conference on time. It was supposed to start at 11 o'clock Eastern. It's now 10:17 Central. Yeah, but just about 20 minutes late. Does that give you any faith in the people in charge to do what needs to be done? It doesn't make me feel good. Also, breaking today, do you remember the Airbnb fire that happened in New Orleans a couple days ago? The one where things collapsed and a transformer blew? The fire that broke out at an Airbnb in New Orleans may be connected to the attack on Bourbon Street. According to NOLA.com, Breitbart has the story. First responders were called to the St. Roch area of the city early Wednesday to reports of a fire breaking out at an Airbnb, according to the outlet. Investigators now believe the Airbnb was rented by the suspect of what is being investigated as a terrorist attack on Bourbon Street, and the fire, therefore, could be connected. Per the outlet, law enforcement officials and Bob Squad detectives were called to 1329 Mandeville Street after firefighters doused flames that broke out at the rental, according to sources close to the investigation. Investigators believe the Airbnb was rented by the suspect in the Bourbon Street attack, sources said. WSDU also spoke to a woman who came home from work in the early hours of the morning, about 5 a.m., less than 2 hours after the Bourbon Street attack unfolded, and saw first responders in the area responding to what was initially thought to be an innocent fire. However, she said residents were later instructed to evacuate the area due to the ongoing investigation, presumably linked to the attack on Bourbon Street, which resulted in 10 fatalities, 15 now, 35 more injured. According to the witness, she says police told her they were looking for explosive devices. The outlet reported, citing the woman, who also reiterated that law enforcement believes the house on fire could have been rented out by the suspect. If it was rented out by the suspect and it was on fire after the fact, wouldn't that kind of spit in the face of the FBI saying he acted alone, right? How did the apartment go up in flames? I mean, there's so many questions here, and we're not getting any answers. It seems we're just going round and round on questions. And there's a lot of questions. A lot. So the suspect of the New Orleans terror attack made a series of videos recording while driving from Texas to Louisiana. In the videos, the suspect said he planned to gather his family with the intention of killing them, but then decided to join ISIS instead. That reporting is from CNN. And you know, I think it's a little bit easy to zoom out a bit and look at this on a national level. Like, what are we doing nationally? But there's real human tragedy here, and our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this terror attack. Nobody should be going out on New Year's Eve in this country and ending their evening in such a way. And we're going to hear from some of those eyewitnesses that were there on the street when we return. It's 10:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, and we got a lot more on the way on Super Talk. Hey, it's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. New year, new comfort. Winter warm-up specials are happening via Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Root Pro partner. When it comes to HVAC, you don't want to miss these deals. Free air duct cleaning with the purchase of a new complete whole home AC. Free air duct cleaning upgrade packages. When you buy the middle package, you're upgraded to the deluxe package for free. You can get a free furnace checkup with any heating repair services, 15% off indoor air quality products, and how about a complimentary smart thermostat with any HVAC replacement? That's a $200 value. Then you can control your comfort from anywhere. Now let's talk plumbing. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has the best offers of the new year, like a free automatic whole home shutoff with leak detection with any main water line replacement or whole home water repipe, a $300 credit on tankless conversion install, and a $250 off smart auto whole home water shutoff. For satisfaction guaranteed, it's so simple. You call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
President Biden may be returning to Washington now as the pressure mounts over those terror attacks. And the FBI changes its tune on whether the New Orleans attacker had accomplices. We've got those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 1024 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. We are... are we going live to that press conference right now? Are they up and running? All right, perfect. Let's all right, so we'll skip the formalities. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, but there's a press conference happening right now with updates on the terror attack in New Orleans. We'll go to it live.
Federal agencies. Also, yesterday, I issued an emergency declaration. That declaration was meant to streamline resources and communications between state, local, and federal partners. And we're seeing the results of it. I also would like to remind everyone that what's going on in this city and this state is twofold. We've got an active criminal investigation going on, while we're also continuing to secure the city in preparation for 3 o'clock kickoff time for the Sugar Bowl. With that, I would also remind those who are in the city that as far as state resources are concerned, we have the Louisiana State Police, the Louisiana National Guard, which was part of that emergency declaration, which allowed us to put an entire MP company on the ground. Those become force multipliers, is what we call that in law enforcement and the military. That helps to add to the resources that we have. Wildlife and Fisheries, the Department of Corrections, DSF, DHS, our Veterans Affairs, our Probation and Parole, all state agencies. Any state agency who has post-certified officers are here in this city to help secure the city. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Christopher Rea, who is the Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counter Terrorism Division. Chris?
Thank you, Governor Landry. Good morning. I am FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Rea. I'm from our Counterterrorism Division at headquarters. I'm also joined by Assistant Special Agent in Charge Alethea Duncan from our New Orleans office, who you heard from yesterday. I'm here to discuss not only the latest investigative information.
This is the coolest innovation of our lifetime.
Did it just
Apologies,
jump,
yeah,
it
just
jumped into
a
an
commercial
ad?
here. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here.
So
Christopher Rea. I'm from our Counterterrorism Division at headquarters. I'm also joined by Assistant Special Agent in Charge Alethea Duncan from our New Orleans office, who you heard from yesterday. I'm here to discuss not only the latest investigative information we have here in New Orleans, but I'll also let you know about other investigative activities outside of the state. I first, and most importantly, want to send our deepest condolences to the victims of this horrific attack and their loved ones. 14 innocent victims were killed in this senseless attack, and at least 35 are injured. We cannot ease the grief people in this community and across the nation are feeling at this time, but rest assured, we stand with you and in support of you. Resources, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later. All the resources of the FBI are being focused on tracking down every piece of evidence, every lead, every interview, every potential lead we've got. While I won't be able to answer all your questions today, my goal is to be as forthcoming as possible with you on what we've uncovered so far. First and foremost, let me be very clear about this point. This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act. This was obviously a critical incident, and with that, lots of information and tips come pouring in from law enforcement, first responders, and the public. We have been aggressively running down these tips and information. As you all know, that takes time, and we will continue to do so until every lead has been followed through on. This investigation is only a little more than 24 hours old. So I ask you to keep in mind that as I go through some of the specifics later. But at this point, currently, and this is another fact I want to be clear on, we do not assess at this point that anyone else is involved in this attack except for Shamsuddin Jabbar, the subject you've already been briefed on. A little bit about what the FBI is doing. So we are surging people and assets to the area from across the region and across the nation. Special agents in multiple field offices across the country have been deployed and are assisting with potential aspects of this investigation and following up on every lead. Additional teams of special agents, professional staff, and victim specialists continue to arrive to provide more investigative power and assistance to the victims and their families. We've also forward deployed a number of our critical incident response group assets, including members of our hostage rescue team, special agent bomb technicians, and crisis management coordinators. In addition, we have deployed more evidence response technicians to continue to process the various scenes that we have. So far, we have received just over 400 tips from the public, and that information is being followed up on both here in New Orleans and across the country. Some of the tips are here in New Orleans, and there are other tips in other states across the country that we are following up on. The FBI team and our law enforcement partners here are also reviewing hundreds of hours of surveillance and other video from both the French Quarter and other locations. As for a timeline, at this point, investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. He then drove from Houston to New Orleans on the evening of the 31st, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS. There were 5 videos posted on Jabbar's Facebook account, which are time-stamped beginning at 1:29 a.m. and the last at 3:02 a.m. In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers, end quote. Additionally, he stated he had joined ISIS before this summer. He also provided a will and testament.
We're currently listening to the press conference via the FBI on the New Orleans terrorist attack on SuperTalk.
We have a couple different scenes at the location. We have released the scene at Bourbon Street. That scene has been released. We also have a scene off of Mandeville address where we're currently searching that scene right now. FBI and ATF agents have secured that house, and that location is being searched for potential evidence. On New Year's morning, Jabbar opened fire after ramming through a blocked-off area of Bourbon Street, used his truck as a weapon to run over the victims. Teams of specially trained victim specialists, again, as I said, are on the ground here in New Orleans, assisting survivors of the attack and loved ones of the deceased. We do not believe the public is in any danger around any of these locations. 3 phones linked to Jabbar have been recovered, and digital media exploitation is a priority to see what is on the devices and determine if there are any other potential leads. Additionally, we have recovered 2 laptops and are currently reviewing them for any potential leads. Those laptops were recovered at the Mandeville address. Evidence technicians will also be going over the F-150 truck Jabbar was driving. As you know, we recovered an ISIS flag from the back of the vehicle. Jabbar declared his support for the terrorist group on social media, as I stated before, as he made his way to New Orleans. FBI bomb technicians also recovered 2 IEDs in coolers, one from the cross-section of Bourbon and Orland Street, and the second at an intersection approximately 2 blocks away. There were multiple reports of other devices. Those reports turned out to be misinformation or not actual functioning devices. Those are the only 2 devices that we've been able to recover that were functional. Both devices were rendered safe on scene. We did obtain surveillance footage showing Jabbar placing the devices where they were found. Two other, as I said before, 2 other items of interest were determined not to be IEDs. A little bit about Jabbar. Jabbar himself was born in the United States and is a U.S. military veteran. We are looking in everything in his life. While we have interviewed many people who know Jabbar, we still need to talk to others. Whether you know Jabbar personally, worked with him, served in the military, or saw him in New Orleans or Texas, we need to talk to you. You may not think you have relevant information, but what you know could tie in to one of our investigative leads. Specifically, we want to talk to anyone who was in the French Quarter on New Year's Eve or early on New Year's Day. That includes people spotted near one of the 2 IEDs on Bourbon Street. The IED was inside a cooler, and many people stopped and looked at the cooler and then continued on their way. Let's be clear, again, we do not believe at this point these people are involved in this incident in any way. We want to speak to them as witnesses and want to know what they saw and when. I went down to the crime scene last night. It is very hard to put into words what it looked like and how difficult it was to see. Anyone with information can call us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or send digital tips to fbi.gov/Bourbon Street attack.
You're listening to the FBI press conference live on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Bourbon Street has been turned over to the city of New Orleans. As you know, there's also an FBI investigation in Las Vegas. We are following up on all potential leads and not ruling everything out. However, at this point, there is no definitive link between the attack here in New Orleans and the one in Las Vegas. And again, I'll preface everything with what I started with in the beginning, which was this is very early in an investigation like this. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this tragedy and everyone impacted across the country. They remain at the heart of our investigation. I also, although I've only been on the ground here a short time, I also want to express a sincere appreciation for our partners here, which include the U.S. Attorney's Office, HSI, ATF, the New Orleans PD, the Louisiana State Police, the Governor's Office, and countless others. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the special agent in charge of ATF here, Josh Jackson.
This is the FBI press conference regarding the terrorist event in New Orleans and Las Vegas on Supertalk.
I am the special agent in charge for the ATF New Orleans Field Division. And ATF's primary mission is preventing, reducing, and solving violent crime throughout the United States and abroad. Solving part is the focus of this investigation. ATF resources that have been brought to bear to the city and to focus with our federal, state, and local partners have been our national response team. We spoke about the scene that's still being processed now. The national response team of ATF is a team of certified fire investigators, certified explosive specialists, fire engineers, electrical engineers. These folks will give us additional investigative leads to help the investigative team identify what happened at the location in Mandeville and identify how that fire started and move the investigation forward from there. additional resources that ATF has brought to bear into the city. There's our ATF Special Response Team. This is a tactical team capable of handling any sort of enforcement operation. This team is deployed, on set, and ready for the Sugar Bowl today. This team is also made available to the Louisiana State Police and also New Orleans Police Department to assist with any efforts that they may have during this period. Additional resources, as the governor alluded to, he executed executive powers and had an emergency declared to where ATF was able to tap in to Emergency Support Function 13 resources. This allowed us to bring additional explosive detection canines so that we can safely sweep the city and safely sweep the Super Bowl in preparation for the game today. These resources will still be in the city as we lead up to the Super Bowl and through Mardi Gras. These type of ATF resources will be here. The last resources ATF has brought to bear, probably the most important one, there's our victim witness coordinators. These folks come in and they provide resources to the victims and the family members that have suffered greatly during this tragedy. The entire city hurts, but the victims and the family members are in need of resources and care long after this investigation wraps up. This time next year, it'd be hard for the families and friends who suffered during this event. So our victim witness coordinators are working with the FBI, the City of New Orleans coordinators to provide resources to these folks out here. And as we move forward, ATF will be committed. We will work with the investigative team moving this investigation forward, but also we'll be here to make sure the city is safe and prepared as we move into the Super Bowl. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our mayor of this great city, New Orleans. Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, good morning once again. And I just want to just echo my thank yous to the unified command of our law enforcement partners and at every single level, federal, state, and governor. Governor, thank you for your partnership. Thank you. I also want to thank the residents and the visitors of the city of New Orleans for your patience, for your support, and most of all, your prayers. Our hearts and prayers continue to go out to the victims' families, and the city of New Orleans, we're resilient. And as I stated on yesterday, my focus in terms of a priority has been on our victims. As you heard, that yes, the FBI was able to clear Bourbon Street, and what that meant also for me in this city was that we were able to remove our victims, identify them, and notify their families. Real reverence. They mattered, the families matter, and matter to the city of New Orleans. In addition to that, I want to just thank again our federal partners in Washington, listening to my plea personally for the additional resources to allow for the scene to be cleared, and again, attending to our victims. I walked by each one, and I did the sign of cross in my own way, because reverence, again, is important. So while we have been able to have Bourbon Street returned back to the city of New Orleans, and the due diligence has been done, that then allowed me to give the go-ahead to begin the cleaning of Bourbon Street. That started happening in the morning about 2 a.m. It was completed before 8 a.m. this morning. But that has really set the tone, I would say, and with the confidence that I have in the law enforcement partners, all of the resources that have been activated, how we have made sure that safety continues to be our top priority, how our assets have been deployed strategically, again, for the safety and the protection of our visitors and our residents in the city. And because of that, the confidence is there to reopen Bourbon Street to the public prior to game time today. The first order will be to allow for vendors to come in and service the businesses. That's important in order for us to stand up activation, as you know, Governor. And so with that, I want to reassure the public that the city of New Orleans is not only ready for game day today, but we're ready to continue to host large-scale events in our city because we are built to host at every single turn. I want to, again, thank all of those who responded to the FBI's call for information and tips. As you heard, that has been useful. Continue to do that. The investigation is still active and absolutely under the FBI's leadership. We will continue to operate and cooperate as we always have. So I want to also thank all of our partners for the added resources for victim and crisis management. We know that that's, again, important. Working with our partner, the Greater New Orleans Foundation, we have set up a fund for our victims' families for not only today but into the future. As you heard, this is going to be a long process for our people. So with that, the city of New Orleans, and with all of my confidence, we are ready. And we could not get here, again, without the unified presence, support, and cooperation. We are stronger together. And I want to say, again, thank you so much. Thank you, Governor.
That's the mayor of New Orleans wrapping up that press conference there. And maybe it's just me, but already opening up Bourbon Street seems a little bit disrespectful, does it not? It seems like the people of New Orleans care a little bit more about money than they do about the casualties in New Orleans during this terror attack. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't think we learned much of anything during that press conference. It was a big letdown. They went through the timeline, and I didn't hear any mention of the Airbnb. When did he check into the Airbnb? When did he book the Airbnb? These are questions that we have. We didn't learn anything from it. We learned that the city is still very, very confident that they're going to have a great football game today. Woo! Is that the most important thing right now? Football. Making sure that you're secure for the Super Bowl. It seems like that's what they're really cared about, is the bottom line. Also, they're really like, hey, we're going to have so much security here today. It's going to be just like the Super Bowl. It's going to be Super Bowl level security. Doesn't that, if this individual wasn't working alone, which the FBI is now determined that he's a lone wolf. He's a lone wolf. He's got to be. It's just he's by himself. Let's just game plan this out. If he's not, doesn't upping your security to Super Bowl level kind of give an insight to what security is going to look like in New Orleans for the Super Bowl? And you listen to what Sarah Adams said, how Al-Qaeda wants to attack targets of America. What's more American than the Super Bowl? Are we giving these terrorists an inside peek into what Super Bowl security is going to look like? I just don't believe that this guy was working alone. I don't believe in the happy little coincidences. I don't. That press conference, though, a lot said, nothing learned. We'll have more on the way for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
All right, drivers got a crash 24 eastbound right before Old Hickory Boulevard in Whites Creek. The left lane is blocked by that crash. The FBI says the New Orleans attacker is believed to have acted alone. They say there is no definitive link to the Tesla truck explosion at the Trump Hotel in Vegas. We've got a full report coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Don't worry, everyone. Nothing to see here. Happy little coincidences, and we'll be good. We got a football game coming up And we got the Super Bowl. It's like that's all you hear from the New Orleans mayor. Bourbon Street's back open. We hosed off the blood. You'll be able to go to your favorite bar. It's like, am I the only one that listened to her saying that and it's just like, are you serious?
That just feels wrong.
Now listen, I've gotten the texts and people are like, listen, you can't let the terrorists win. They want to disrupt your everyday life. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, like you're out there just, your flex is, we've cleaned the blood off the streets so you can go out and drink before the game. It blows my mind.
It just seems cold.
Yeah, no
It's
kidding.
cold, man.
It's like they care more about money than they do about anything else going on. Don't worry. It's happy little coincidences. He acted alone. Here's a timeline.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of answers that you didn't you didn't really ask questions to. Yikes. The mayor. She gets under my skin a bit. Tracy in Pleasant View, man. What do you think about the New Orleans mayor?
Sometimes Hollywood, can be a little prophetic. Listening to that mayor reminds me of Maury Hamilton's character, Mayor Vaughn, in the movie Jaws. So concerned about the beaches being closed.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. How many deaths would it take for them to decide to close it down for a day or two? 20?
Right.
50?
Yeah.
100? How many? I'm just asking.
I mean, who's going to go down there and drink today? Like, honestly, are you going to go? Like, is anybody in New Orleans going to be like, I'm hitting Bourbon, I'm hitting Bourbon Street?
Well, get this, go back to the scene from the movie Jaws. So they open the beaches back up, and nobody wants to go into the water. And then this old couple with the grandkids go out there, and they're huddled around each other, and everybody's just looking around 360 degrees.
Yep.
Everybody's going to be down there with their butthole puckered.
You're not lying. I appreciate the call, Tracy. You're not lying one bit.
From the response team.
the butthole will be puckered. Yeah. It just blows my mind. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. The bars will be open. Oh.
And I understand opening the street back up so businesses can resume normal life, so they can make money for their families and whatnot. But it just feels too soon because it seems morbid, but it's not even like a cold sight yet, and you're already trying to get IPAs and beer slinging again. It's weird.
It just feels off.
It's weird.
And that's the flex. Don't worry, the bars will be open before the game. Okay. Everything else is a happy little coincidence. What happened in Vegas is just a coincidence. What happened in New Orleans, lone wolf. I don't believe it for a second. I can't believe that for a second. I understand that part of these press conferences is probably trying to calm down fears. You don't want the entire country to go into a state of panic, but let's just be honest with the American people. We have thousands of radical Islamist terrorists in this country. And it took one of them to cause devastation in New Orleans. What can 3 or 4 do? Where's it going to be next? I was talking with the boss in the hallway, and he said, you know what scares me the most about this? Is that Bourbon Street is essentially Broadway. And it's like, yeah, this could have happened here. This could happen here. Are you keeping your head on a swivel? You should be. Are you armed? Honestly. I'm not even I'm not fear-mongering. I'm not spreading BS. Are you armed? You should be. Call the Glock store if you're not. And as we head towards January 20th, I think that the silver lining of all this is that maybe, just maybe, we can get some of these Trump cabinet picks in on day one. People that are actually going to try and keep the American population safe, not people that just say, don't worry about it. Rep. Mike Waltz was on Fox News this morning, and he's the incoming national security advisor, and he echoed that statement. All of Trump's picks need to be in place on day one.
What is it that you are going to be looking for as the feds start to give us more information?
Well, number one, that external plotting versus internal radicalization, how that happened. Number two, I find it an amazing coincidence, but I don't think it is a coincidence that you had 2 attacks renting from the same site, both veterans. you could have a more radicalized and broader cell. Don't forget, you also had an Afghan that was stopped from making election day attacks. So this is why getting President Trump's cabinet in is so important. We need Governor Noam at DHS. We need Kash Patel at FBI. We need Pete Hegseth at DOD. This is an across-the-government look. Marco Rubio at State, and, of course, Ratcliffe at CIA and Tulsi Gabbard at DNI. That has to be in place day one, guys, because this is a moment in transition of vulnerability, and President Trump is going to project because he is a leader of strength. The narrative that we project on day one will be just important, and that's having our people in place.
Amen. Let's get our people in place. Can we just stop the tomfoolery and give Trump the office now? Can we speed up the inauguration? Because the guy that's sitting in the chair right now is doing a little more than sitting in the chair. He slurred through his remarks last night. He gave a whopping 4-minute speech, Joe Biden did, after a terror attack on American soil. 4 minutes. And then he turns his back to the American people, takes no questions, much like he's done the last 4 years. It's insane. But don't worry. He acted alone. Had nothing to do with what happened in Vegas. It's all happy little coincidences. Okay. Keep your head on a swivel. We got a lot more to cover. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Tell you about an Arctic blast that's apparently headed Middle Tennessee's way.
This is a special report from ABC News New Orleans attack. I'm Brian Clark. Authorities in New Orleans providing the latest update into the New Year's Day terror attack. They say 14 people were killed after a man drove a pickup truck down Bourbon Street. The FBI's Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Reyes said,
This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act.
He says they are surging resources to the area to continue the investigation as questions continue in New Orleans, says ABC's Whit Johnson.
Now, growing questions about security and why bollards and barricades were not properly set up. Officials say after multiple malfunctions, they were in the process of being replaced. Patrol cars were instead meant to block traffic. A tragic failure as the suspect was able to drive on the sidewalk.
The investigation continues into whether there was a connection between this and the explosion at a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. This is ABC News.
Yeah, FBI Deputy Assistant Director of Counterterrorism Reyes said at this time there's no definitive link to the incident at the Trump hotel in Vegas, but they're still investigating. He says it's still very early. Here's Alex Stone with what we've learned.
Overnight, federal agents searched a home in Colorado. Investigators say the Cybertruck was rented there to a person named Matthew Livelsberger, but detectives are still working through forensics to determine the ID of the person who was behind the wheel of the truck when it exploded. The fire has made identifying the human remains difficult. Livelsberger served in the Army. His service record is now under review.
Livelsberger had a background in the Army and was in the Army Special Forces on leave when he died, according to authorities. Here in Nashville, at least one Metro Council member calling for discussion about additional safety measures on Lower Broad following what happened in New Orleans. This is Metro Council member Jacob Coupin, whose district encompasses downtown Nashville. He told News 2 he thinks everything's well monitored and protected through video surveillance and physical barriers on Lower Broad, but he's still working with other officials to keep the area as safe as possible. He thinks there may be some more steps that could be taken. To that effect, he says he has reached out to multiple partners, as he calls them, to try to set up a meeting to plan here for the new year. Jay O'Brien in our nation's capital, where Congress kicks off its 119th session tomorrow by voting for House Speaker.
One more thing to keep an eye on. If Matt Gaetz shows up, who's resigned his seat but could technically still make an argument that he could take his seat in this upcoming 119th Congress, that would mean if he's a yes on Johnson, Johnson could only afford to lose 2 Republican votes, and that might work in his favor, although I spoke with a source close to Gaetz who says it doesn't look likely that Gaetz is going to show up tomorrow, but it's Matt Gaetz, so you just really never know.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:03 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. I want to tell you about my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you need health insurance, get health insurance and call my friend Shane. He has over 20 years of experience in health insurance, and he's going to shop the entire market to help you find the best plan. He has over 75 different companies to shop from and every type of plan available in the market. He can help you no matter your income or health situation. So don't let yourself or someone you know get taken advantage of by call center agents and limited overpriced health coverage. You don't need that. You need to call Shane. He can easily save you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums. I've seen it happen. And many of these plans that Shane can hook you up with will even pay you when you use them. Doesn't that sound good? It sounds awesome. Well, go ahead and give Shane a call today and he'll get you started. Let him know that I sent you. He'll show you how much you could be saving on quality coverage right now. You can reach Shane at 615-465-0023 or on his website, covernash.com. It's that simple to book an appointment. Call 615-465-0023, and you can get an appointment with Shane today. Get a quality plan managed by you, not the government, covernash.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. We're drinking through a fire hose today on Super Talk. There is so much happening,
dude.
It's unreal, right?
It is.
How do you attack a news day like this, Ken?
Well, fortunately, I have several channels in here that I can monitor, and I am constantly recording. I'm constantly recording our network channels for any interviews that come up, like the press conference that was just held there in New Orleans. I expect one on Las Vegas here any time now. Biden's supposed to speak later today. So you do that, and then you while they are talking, I'm in here typing everything they're saying. So fortunately, today I got in here in time for that while you were airing it, and I was able to go along. So now I have a good base, and it's going to be a little bit easier as the day goes on. But any new development, any new attack, God forbid, it's going to be something.
It does feel like we're waiting for another attack.
And well, I mean, man, we're in a terrifying lull right now. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. January 20th cannot come soon enough.
Amen.
It just cannot. And I'm not bad-mouthing this president, but he does not seem well.
Oh, I'll badmouth him for you. 4 minutes? You spend 4 minutes talking to the American people after a terror attack? 4 minutes. And then you turn your back on the American people like you've done time and time again over the course of your administration, and you leave.
Yeah. Well, and this is the man, he's still in charge.
Yeah.
As president, I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about who's really in charge, but our commander-in-chief does not seem well to me.
No.
And we just had what could be a coordinated attack.
Yep. But don't worry, the FBI said it's a happy little coincidence.
I mean, they do say that, I mean, they're not ruling it out. The guy said that it's early in the investigation. They haven't found what he said, a definitive link yet, but they're looking into it.
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. And it does seem like the Biden administration is just woefully unprepared for this moment. Woefully unprepared. Yesterday, during MSNBC's coverage of the terror attack in New Orleans, Senior Vice President for Global Operations at the Sufin Group, Christopher O'Leary, he was the Director of Hostage Rescue and Recovery during the Biden administration. He worked in counterterror positions across multiple administrations, and he stated on MSNBC, Al-Qaeda and ISIS are stronger now than they've ever been, and that the U.S. government has pivoted a lot of its attention and resources and authorities away from it. No kidding. Yeah, we've been diverting resources to moms on school board meetings, right? That's where the FBI has been focused, on domestic terrorism. Okay.
And it makes it makes me wonder about that woeful pullout of Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah, dude, we left everything there for them. We strengthened them tenfold would be an understatement. And you watch these training videos of these guys. You know, I brought up the Sean Ryan podcast quite a few times today because of Sarah Adams, former CIA analyst, Sean Ryan with his background. Sean Ryan has played videos of these guys at their training facilities, these Al-Qaeda members, ISIS. You know, they all come under one umbrella, right? It's radical Islamic terrorism. But the training videos, all these guys do are eat, sleep, and train.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with rock throwers. You know what I mean? Like these guys are very sophisticated, and to not give them that credit is you're not doing a service to the American people. And it doesn't seem like the Biden administration gives them any credit. And now it's just, it's a lone wolf. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. Bourbon Street's going to be back open. You'll be able to go drink. You'll be able to go enjoy football. Super Bowl is going to be fine. It seems like the city of New Orleans is more worried about their bottom line and attracting tourists than they are about the terrorist attack that happened. But we understand that the Biden administration has directed resources away from this area, that Al-Qaeda and ISIS are stronger now than they've ever been. And 2025, that's their target area for attacks. And again, Sarah Adams was on the Sean Ryan podcast talking about this weeks ago.
We have not had a man walk up to a building with a suicide vest on the United States. Americans don't understand this. Al-Qaeda knows this, right? So this is new and innovative, especially now. You don't have to walk upside of the building. You can walk in the building because of the advancement of the vest. The other thing is, in the United States, we haven't had Fideian attackers. So the concept is the terrorist fights to the death. So he's not exactly a suicide bomber, but he will fight till either all of us are dead or all of his people are dead. good. We think it's going to be a swarming attack, right? Multiple different attacks at one time across multiple cities. We think there will be suicide bombers just because some of the attackers went through suicide bomber training and they have these vests. And then we think there's these Fideian attackers who will carry on until they're killed.
You just rephrase that. So these guys are trained and they are going to fight until they're killed.
Yes, and that matters, right? So I was watching this video, and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. The bomber blew up, and then everyone starts moving in. The first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic. But if Americans don't understand this as a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the death, think about that. Battle's going on. The attacker surrenders. He might have the suicide vest. You know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you dies. So we can't let our guards down, and they know our weakness. So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people die in these second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
I mean, there's so much that we do know, but there's a lot that the American public aren't ready for. And suicide vests, second and third wave bombers, like, let's be honest, we haven't seen that here. We've seen it across the world, but we haven't seen it here in the homeland. That would be innovative. That would be different. We're not prepared for this. We're not prepared. It's just this entire thing is insanity. But there's coordination and there's targeting. This is what they've been warning us about. That's why when the FBI comes out there and says, oh, it's a lone wolf, and it was a happy little coincidence what happened in Vegas on the exact same day, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. Because you hear about the coordination that they're planning from Sarah Adams on this podcast, and you're like, okay, so this is just, we're supposed to believe this is a happy little coincidence?
How many people, how many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it's an al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
I think this is an important point. That you're going to have a lot of different groups working together, and it's going to be thrown under the umbrella of ISIS, and that anybody that gets caught, they'll say they're ISIS, and it's just important to point out there are more groups out there than ISIS, okay? And a lot of the flags that are flown, they're not necessarily linked to just ISIS. The ISIS flag that was used on the back of the New Orleans truck, this is the same flag that's used by TTP, which is the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, okay? This is the same flag that's used by Al-Shabaab, which is Al-Qaeda in Somalia. This is the same flag that's used by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, among many other jihadi groups. So, like, the flag and it's ISIS, it's not as simple as that. It's never going to be that simple. It's just not. It's just not.
I think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, just do 5 straight days.
So this is like a month ago, this episode, Sean Ryan, Sarah Adams, saying they want to do these attacks coordinated. Yesterday, we saw a coordinated attack. What would appear to be a coordinated attack, and the FBI tells us, don't worry, just a coincidence. Am I reading too much into this, or is the FBI just flubbing on this one?
But they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So Capitol is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in D.C., right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on I'm going to go up there, right? And because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. In my opinion, terrorists in general just leaving Afghanistan, a lot of them are coming up through the Darien Gap to the border. And there was a big push, right? Get in the U.S. while you can. Now, not all those Al-Qaeda's attackers, right? But they came in with fake Afghan passports. They came in with fake Syrian passports, fake Turkish passports. Those are the kind of the three preferences because they're easiest to get. And then, if our Border Patrol agents, a lot of them haven't been overseas, right? If an Egyptian shows up at the border with a Syrian passport, is he going to know that person? Was he?
No, exactly. They're telling us, don't worry, this has nothing to do with the wide open southern border. But the next one might. Also, this American citizen.
Hosni is live on.
When was he radicalized? Who radicalized him? When? These are questions that we need answers to. We need these questions. Are we going to get questions from the members of his mosque that he attended in Houston? No. Actually, the mosque that he attended in Houston has told that anybody that attends that mosque to refer FBI inquiries to the Council on American Islamic Relations and the Islamic Society of Greater Houston. So we're not going to get any answers out of those people. Who radicalized this guy and when? It's also important to point out that a lot of these are generational goals, right? These terrorists, their timelines are not the same as we have in the West. Long ago, people would have their whole life work, and they'd be building, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and they would start construction, and it wouldn't be finished until they died, and that was okay because that's your life's work. That a lot of these terrorists feel the exact same way, right? Like long-term goals, long-term plans. Was this guy radicalized before he even joined the military? I think that's a good question to ask. Jack Posobiec said that Jabbar was reported twice to his Army COC for Islamic extremist views, and they were too scared of causing a racial and religious issue to address. How long did he hold the views? How long? Don't worry. The FBI said he was acting alone. Don't worry. The mayor of New Orleans said the bars are back open in time for the game. Don't worry. You're going to be able to enjoy football in the Super Bowl. Okay. I feel like we have bigger things to worry about here. Just me. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And as you're hearing this news and the chaos that's caused by the weakness of the Biden administration, you have to understand you are going to be responsible for your safety. And this is why I always tell you about my friends at the Glock store. When I go to train, and I should honestly go more often, I go to the Glock store. I go to the shoot270.com indoor ranges where they have private shooting rooms and personal instructors. This is not multiple lanes with a stranger shooting next to you. This is real life training where you're learning how to shoot behind cover. You're learning how to clear rooms. You're doing all these things inside the Shoot 270 rooms. And if you're thinking that you need to up your training game, you need to do it at the Glock store. You need to do it in the Shoot 270 rooms. They have an exciting 2025 New Year deal just for you all month long. If you book a session at shoot270.com, you'll get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5 just by mentioning my name, Chris Hand. That's a $50 value. You get to use it for free during your training session just by saying you heard it on the Chris Hand Show. If you need to train, the right way to train is with a personal instructor in a private shooting room. After every session, you're going to walk out better, more confident than you were before. And in January, you'll experience the thrill of shooting a full auto MP5. This is the incredible, incomparable shoot270.com, only in Nashville. It's only at my place to train, the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Okay, they have moved that crash onto the shoulder there in Whites Creek. So 24 eastbound, right before Old Hickory Boulevard North. You've got a crash there on the shoulder. That's at exit 40. Traffic coming up pretty much every hour whenever I see it. Also coming up here at 11:30, I've got the very latest on what the FBI is telling America about the terrorist attack in New Orleans and the incident with the exploding Tesla truck at Trump Hotel in Vegas. At 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 11:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. We love those guys. If you need a water filter, call Better Water LLC. You know, we've talked a lot about the national ramifications about this, but it's like this is hitting people so close to home. And when you hear the stories of people that were there, it really makes you rethink this thing and how devastating this was. And as I listen to individuals that were there telling about how he thought his friends avoided the truck, but then turning around and seeing them dead, it infuriates me even more that the New Orleans mayor is more concerned about getting a popular tourist hotspot open so people can drink than they are about the actual human damage that was caused during this terrorist attack. This is one individual choking up as he describes that story where his friends were right next to him, and he thought that they got away until he realized his friend wasn't with him anymore.
He's coming up all onto the sidewalk and all that, but by that time we had already made it inside the divot, or is what I thought. Until once we get inside the divot and the car passes, I turn around to like look who's all in here because it was supposed to be 3 of us. I turn around to look who's all in here, and I don't see my friend. And I just start screaming and yelling, and I'm like, nah, where are you? And I turn and I look in the street, and her right leg is flipped like horror movie style over her back, and it's just blood.
I'm sure the mayor of New Orleans, saw that and said, hey, let's get these bars open. Let's open up these bars. Let's get everybody drinking again. Forget about this. It honestly infuriates me that a football game is that important. And I get what people are saying. We can't let the terrorists win. It's like, guys, they opened the street back up. They hosed off the blood. Like, this is it's vile to me that's so important. That the bottom line here is money. Let's be honest. Let's get the dollars flowing again. And you hear these stories of people that were there as it was going down. It's like, how could the mayor of New Orleans be so heartless?
We ducked off into a nightclub real quick, and within 2 minutes of walking in, 4 or 5 girls come running in, push past security, and hide under tables. Me and my friend living here, kind of knowing what's what and things that have been on the news, we didn't take any chances. We ran upstairs to the balcony area that we knew was there, and when we got up there, it wasn't anyone chasing anybody. It was just unimaginable casualty.
I don't know. Seeing a body that's been run over by a car is it's really tough to see. I've seen it in real life, very, very close to me. I saw somebody get run over, and I saw their head explode. And it's really messed up, man. And to say no, we got to have the bars back open, and then the bartenders that saw that, the security guys that saw that, you got to go back to work. That's vile to me. I can't believe the city's even doing that. That should be a crime scene. That should be taped off. That they should not be more worried about opening that up so people can go out and drink. They shouldn't. It's just, that to me is just awful. Just totally awful. And maybe I'm in the minority here. I mean, they hosed off Bourbon Street quicker than they hosed off the roof at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally when the would-be Trump assassin was killed. They hosed it down so quick. It's wild. It shouldn't be okay. This shouldn't be normalized. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we're tracking another blast of Arctic weather that might include snow. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. The FBI says U.S.-born Shamsuddin Jabbar, a military veteran, shot dead by police after committing an act of terrorism there in New Orleans. Assistant Deputy Director Christopher Ray with the timeline.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. He then drove from Houston to New Orleans on the evening of the 31st, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS.
Reyes says Jabbar is believed to have acted alone and that he also planted 2 explosive devices in the area. So far, the FBI says it has no link to the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas the same day. Here's Alex Stone.
In the Las Vegas case, sources say Matthew Livelsberger, a U.S. Army Special Forces member on approved leave, rented the Cybertruck, saying he was going camping in the Grand Canyon, which may explain why he had gas canisters in the truck. Sources say it is now believed it was his badly burned body in the truck.
Here in Nashville, Metro Council member Jacob Cupin, whose district includes downtown, tells News 2 he's putting together a meeting to look at what happened in New Orleans and look at what that would look like here and what we can do to prevent it. Also in Nashville, we have learned that the driver of a Nissan Versa has died following this morning's single-vehicle crash on Highway 100. The preliminary investigation shows the 78-year-old man was traveling northeast when he likely suffered from a medical event based on evidence at the scene. The vehicle veering off the roadway near Old Hickory Boulevard before crashing head-on into a tree. The man died at the scene. Efforts are underway to notify his family. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Did you spend 2024 looking past your settling sidewalk or driveway? Did you spend 2024 not paying attention to your sinking slabs or patio steps, or ignoring that your porch steps are tilting, ignoring that your sidewalk or patio shifted? It's time to stop ignoring those problems in 2025. It's time to call the experts, United Structural Systems. Whether you're having foundation issues or waterproofing issues, there's one company that's been in Middle Tennessee fixing these problems since 1994. That's United Structural Systems. When you get these guys coming to your house, they're not going anywhere. That can't be said with the new guy in town. If you work with the new guy, you have no guarantee that they'll still be around if you ever have a warranty issue. Well, that's not the case with USS. They have more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. These guys are community-oriented. They're right here in Middle Tennessee, and they're going to do a good job for you, and they won't leave until the work is done and you're satisfied. This is who you need coming to your home, not a franchise. You need guys coming in with a custom solution to meet your needs. They won't leave until the job is done, and when they do leave, they'll leave behind a warranty that is good for life. Even if you leave the home, the warranty can stay. That's USS. They guarantee their best, and they'll take the stress out of your home repairs, whether it's keeping your home dry or keeping your home stable. Call 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. Online at USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 11:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. It's Chris Hand here. So CNN has confirmed that the driver of the Cybertruck explosion at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas was an active duty Green Beret assigned to the 10th Special Forces Group, holding the rank of Master Sergeant.
Haley has confirmed in just the last few minutes that he is an active duty U.S. Special Forces soldier assigned to 10th Special Forces Group, according to 4 U.S. officials, that he holds the rank of Master Sergeant, a senior enlisted rank, these officials said. 3 officials said he was on active duty serving in Germany, and he was on leave when this happened on New Year's Day. He has not been identified publicly, and authorities are still trying to work out whether this was a terrorist attack. Now, just to recap a little bit of what happened behind us just 24 hours ago, approximately, there are still police presence here around the valet area of where you pull into the Trump International Hotel just off of the Vegas Strip. This Cybertruck that he allegedly rented was rented from Colorado from the Turo rental platform. Authorities say that he drove it here to Las Vegas by 7:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, that he drove up and down the Strip, and then about an hour before the explosion drove past the Trump Hotel as well. And police did make note that the damage was really limited because of the body construction of this Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah, the Cybertruck, it contained the explosion, sent it upwards. But there's a lot of questions about the Cybertruck driver. So we have 2 military members radicalized to commit acts of terror on the same day. Happy little coincidences. Both got vehicles from the same rental company. Just another happy little accident and coincidence, right? Both served at the same military base, Fort Bragg. Nothing to see here. And it's the same military base that Ryan Ruth, the would-be Trump assassin, visited over 100 times before trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Oh, weird. Weird. Another little happy coincidence here. Johnny MAGA on Twitter. I don't know if you follow Johnny. Do you follow Johnny MAGA? I follow Johnny MAGA. He's reporting that the Cybertruck bomber was apparently setting up recently retired Special Force guys with contracts to go to Ukraine. Again, just another happy little coincidence. Just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. This is the most insane news story ever. And we're going to see it get worse and worse and worse. I fear that we're going to see more terror attacks in the coming days, weeks, months. The Tesla guy, though, I have a lot of questions about the Tesla truck guy. He just had a baby born in June. He does appear to be separated from his wife. His wife does appear on her Facebook with a new man using her maiden name on a Facebook account. He looked like he had a different girlfriend. I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. Let's also not rule out the fact that Matthew A. Livelsberger, the 37-year-old from Colorado Springs, who was in the Tesla truck, U.S. Army veteran, active Green Beret. Let's be honest. He might not have been the guy driving the truck, right? Like, it's a Tesla Cybertruck. Let's not rule out the fact that he could have just been propped up in that front seat and then remote driven down there. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It may not be the closest to the truth, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I just don't understand how a guy who is an active duty Green Beret, just had a baby, blows himself up in a truck outside of Trump Tower. I don't know. People are asking online, was he forced to do this? I don't know. A lot of questions. Doesn't seem to be too many answers. No answers at all. Former Las Vegas Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton also talking about the coincidences yesterday. And, they're just happy little coincidences now, but the FBI says, yeah, just coincidences. But a former Las Vegas Police Lieutenant, Randy Sutton, was on Fox News yesterday and said, there are too many coincidences.
Randy, I want to start with the Turo app. We know it was used in New Orleans to rent that truck. We now know that it was also used in Las Vegas. Could it be a coincidence? Certainly. But the Turo app, to my knowledge, it's pretty, a remote app. It's not one that's often talked about. It's not like they both rented through Hertz or a well-known company. Are you seeing anything with that connection?
I'd never heard of Turo.
Absolutely. I'm not a great believer in coincidences when it comes down to violent crime. There are so many coincidences and similarities involving these two terrorist attacks that I cannot fathom that they are not connected. Now, of course, this is what law enforcement has to do. They have to delve into the backgrounds of the identified people, the driver, the dead driver of the Tesla, and the dead suspect in New Orleans. They're going to have to determine what connection, if any, existed between them. And this is what the investigative process has to entail, is a deep, deep dive into the pasts of both of these individuals and those associated with them. So this is going to be a very deep investigation. When I first heard about the Tesla explosion.
So he says that there are too many coincidences for it to be a coincidence. And there needs to be a deep, deep investigation into their ties. Yet, less than 24 hours after that clip came out, the FBI says, no, not coordinated, not connected, happy little coincidence. Okay. If that's what you're going with, that's what you're going with. I have a high level of doubt. Corey in Nashville wants to talk about the Sean Ryan podcast. What's up, Corey?
Not much, my friend. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say that that is one resource that most people are not aware of, the Sean Ryan Show podcast, and he is local in Franklin, if you're not aware. And I would say the Sarah Adams is a mind-opening interview, and there are 3 of them with a 4th on the way, he said. Also, who people want to be relevant to what's going on with her and her predictions. She's actually had the Biden administration come after her because of her reporting and her reports that she's been putting out through the Sean Ryan newsletter that he has. She contributes to it. And the things that she's able to do with the resources that she's developed throughout the career that she had, she was able to find the Abbygate bomber's cell phone and all these other things she tells Sean in this story or her podcast. And the administration was just totally oblivious, other than the fact that she was right.
Yep.
And it truly gets your blood boiling. So if you do watch it, people, be prepared.
Yeah.
So that woman, and there's also 2 others that they should look at that's coordinated with Sarah, and that's the interview he did with the legend, who was a native-born Afghan, who was the one that popped the story off about the however many millions going to Taliban a month or a week, however it was.
Yep.
And then the other one was the leader of the resistance in Afghanistan. I can't remember. He went to Venice to do that interview. I'm going to tell you, those were some of the best podcasts ever done. And the fact that state agencies, including the TBI, that don't reach out to Sean Ryan to help predict things like this, because I would imagine he would say that on his show because he has offered it to them. He has said so in previous interviews. It's truly amazing what they will listen to and they won't listen to.
Yeah,
coming from people who are in the special forces community and the CIA. It truly is amazing what they put their head in the sand about.
Yeah, 100%. Now, to be fair, and I appreciate the call, Corey, we don't know if TBI has reached out to Sean Ryan and asked his expertise. We have no idea. But the podcast that he's talking about with Sarah Adams, I mean, she lays it out plain. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are planning coordinated multi-city attacks in 2025 in the U.S. She lays it out plain that they have over 1,000 soldiers in the U.S. ready to go. And this was recorded weeks ago. And today we're surprised.
How many people, how many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, then they talk, I'm ISIS. I think more of the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
I think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States, or will they be one day here, next day here, another one over here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or if coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, just do 5 straight days. So, but they want it coordinated.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So This is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So capital is a great symbol. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in DC, right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on. I'm going to go up there, right? Because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. In my opinion, terrorists in general just leaving Afghanistan, a lot of them are coming up through the Darien Gap.
Yeah, and you know what? Today they're going to tell us, well, it was an American citizen. It was an American citizen. This has nothing to do with wide open borders. Yeah, maybe this guy doesn't have to do with wide open borders, perhaps, but the next one may. We got 1,000 terrorists coming up through the Darien Gap, sneaking into our country, plotting, planning. And are we sure that this guy wasn't radicalized by someone who snuck into the country? Would we be in this position if we had somebody that prioritized security and strength in this country sitting in the White House? Probably not. We probably wouldn't be in this position at all. Lord knows if we had continued the Donald Trump border policies, we wouldn't have these terrorists lying in wait. We wouldn't have sleeper cells in this country. But today, we most certainly do. Today, we have just uncertainty across this country because everybody's been waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it seems like that shoe is falling. Absolute insanity. We're going to talk with Chad Benson when we get back, see what's coming up on the Chad Benson Show today. And I want to point out again, New Year's Eve, I said, Chad, what do you think about the party tonight? He said, I'm nervous. He said, I think there's going to be a terror attack. He called it. He called it on this show, New Year's Eve. We'll talk to him about that prediction, plus what he's got coming up on the show and more. It's 11:50 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. It's 11:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk.
The Chris Hand Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. I got Chad Benson in here. Chad, with the prediction on New Year's Eve.
I know. I feel like I could do that with sports.
Dude.
Right? It is crazy. We're going to talk a bit about the New Orleans because there's a lot of twists and turns. The dude in Vegas.
Yeah. Green
Beret, active duty. His wife said she hadn't heard from him for 8 days. He'd gone missing. She's a super liberal. Have you seen some of her stuff?
No.
Oh, my. Whoa. She's a Trump hater from back in the day.
Well, I saw that he had, it looked like he had separated from her and had a new wife.
Yeah. There's some some things, but people hadn't, I don't know what the plan was. That was just, I have no idea what the plan was.
Well, I said a minute ago, it's like, don't rule out the fact that they could have just murdered the guy and put him in the front seat and remote drove that car to Vegas.
But they said it the minute it parked, in under a minute, it exploded. So it wasn't like it was sitting there for hours. But they've got pictures of him or video of driving up and down the strip. And my thought is, like, did he not mean for it to explode? It was like, did he think he was going to do something else? Why are you bringing fireworks? What is that about?
I don't understand it.
The whole thing is bizarre. But, you're mad at Elon?
So you don't think that they were coordinated together?
I don't know if they were or weren't. I mean, it's a possibility. It's weird. They were stationed at the same place. I don't know if they've ever met. And obviously, through Discord and everything else, you're gonna be able to find any of that stuff out. Is it? Who knows? Again, it's a mystery. It's bizarre. And the fact that he's on leave and just disappears, goes to Colorado, rents a car, and then drives to Vegas to blow himself up.
It's off, right? Seems a bit off.
It does.
Seems like there's more to that story than we're being told.
And you never know. And then the guy in New Orleans is it's both terror and a bit of a guy who'd lost everything in life and was easily picked apart.
But you have to wonder, like, when were you radicalized?
From what I understand, it had been months.
Months, though?
Not years. Months.
Because Jack Posobiec was reporting that there were a couple times while he was in the military that he was called out for his Islamic views and his radical Islam views, but they didn't want to do anything about it because it would create a religious and racial issue.
He wanted to kill his family originally.
Yeah, I saw that.
He just wanted to kill mom and dad and his brother because apparently they wouldn't help him because he was so broke. How do you mess up? First of all, when I see the guy, I just think total loser. Like, he's the guy that everything he touches, his marriages, his relationships, he goes broke in real estate. How do you go broke in real estate in today's, and how do you go broke in Texas?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to Dallas right now. For everybody listening out there, you can go just outside of Dallas. You get a house that would be $1.5 million here for like $400,000.
Yep.
How do you go broke there?
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You could tell he was a loser. And the thought that I don't even think he knew what he was going to do when he was going there. I don't think he had any idea. I think it was just by the moment.
Really?
Yeah. I think he had a plan to do something, but he said he was inspired. What people are saying from the night before, or what would have been the day, because it was New Zealand, when apparently some ISIS people drove through and tried to hit some cops. And that was apparently supposed to be the impetus for this moment. Because I think he was thinking about blowing stuff up rather than, but you just don't know. I mean, what's going through your mind?
It's insane.
And here's the thing. I think the guy was, just a giant loser. What about people that are really trained? What about people that are here to do serious damage and they're not going to make it a one-off kind of like, but more coordinated? That's what I worry about. Because this was, again, it's such a bizarre situation, but you knew it was going to happen.
Is this the green light to other sleeper cells?
It might be, even if this guy had no coordination. I don't know if we'll ever find out because, again, the radicalization of him wanting to do this, I think, was very short, but I think it might be the impetus for them to move quicker now because now the radar is going to be on, we got to pay attention.
Yep.
And so it might move up something that they want to do. I listened to Sarah Adams last night. She had a big thing on the old Twitter sphere, or X, whatever it's called this week, and talking about the fact that they might have to move stuff up quicker. And the coordination might be everybody does something at once, or it might be you do one on Monday, these to be Tuesday, So, but yeah, that's a scary thing.
Do you worry that them moving up security at the Sugar Bowl and doing Super Bowl level security is really giving people a bird's eye view on what to expect come the Super Bowl in New Orleans?
Yeah, the Super Bowl is always crazy, though, man. I tell you what, it is. I did media a couple times Super Bowl. It's just it's insane. There's nowhere safer to be. Is in the Super Bowl. The thing is, these people don't care. They're not interested in getting in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
There's going to be 500,000 people outside of it. The people in Austria who want to do all that stuff, Taylor Swift, if they couldn't get in, there was going to be 100,000 people staying outside because those people want to be a part of something. So it's about as much damage that they can do. So, like tonight, the safest place to be is the Sugar Bowl. The problem is that's from a mile in.
Yeah,
what happens at a mile and a half? Well, that's a different story.
Yep.
Because you got to wait in line to get in.
Do you think that New Orleans opened up too quickly? It pissed me off a little bit hearing the mayor being like, we got to open back up Bourbon Street and get the drinking going.
Well, I mean, do I think it opened up? Well, no, but you also don't want to let them win. But it's still kind of an active crime scene. Like I see doing the Sugar Bowl, I see that. But opening up Bourbon Street like today or tomorrow feels like, hey, that's where Jim got run over.
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird thing.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. Yeah,
but what do you say to all the business owners who are like, what are we to do? You know, we were just so. And then once again, New Orleans also showed how it failed. Like, you know, the blocks that go up and down. The ballards. Well, the mayor's like, well, you know, the people throw the beads, and sometimes the beads get in there, and there's been it's been really hard because they've messed up the mechanisms. You're like, fix them.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah. But, you know, the other thing is it was also really late. Like, it was one of those things where it was not midnight. Because if you look at the pictures, it's not as packed as it normally is. Because it's at 3:15 in the morning.
Yep.
So, you know, but it's crazy, man. I'm going to talk about that. I don't know what else to talk about. Stuff. Real ID. Got to have Real ID this year.
Oh, not a fan of that.
You know what? I'm not a fan of it. And for many people, they don't even know how to get it. Because most places, DMVs across the country aren't even ready for it.
Yeah.
So how do you get it? By May, you have to have it to fly on an airplane.
I'll have to tell my Turning Point friends I'm not going to be flying anywhere anymore.
Good God.
Book me an RV, please.
It's always nice right there, too. A good RV, none of those crappy ones.
No, yeah. Give me not a Sprinter van. I need a full kitchen in there.
That's right, baby.
Yeah,
that's
what
right.
I'm talking about. Chad's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.